world of leadership and innovation with this special conversation from Business Connect magazine. Today we sit down with Dominic Tomalin, the headmaster of Shrewsbury International School. But before we begin, it's worth acknowledging the remarkable journey of Dominic Tomalin. Unlike many educators whose careers have remained within the classroom, Dominic brings a wealth of experience from various industries. His professional path reflects a real combination of strategic thinking, operational excellence, and people centric leadership. And what makes his story particularly compelling is that he chose to channel all of that experience and energy into education, which is an arena where the impact of leadership extends far beyond business outcomes and into shaping the future generations. So please welcome Dominic Tomlin. Thank you so much for joining us today, Dominic. How are you?
I'm very well, Kajal, and you?
I'm fine. Thanks for asking. Okay, so our audience is very much curious to know about you and the institution. So let's get ahead and dive into this inspiring conversation. So my first question from you would be, Dominic, that we know that your career spans across engineering, telecommunications, logistics, and executive management, right? So I believe our audience out there would love to understand like what brought someone with such an extensive background to not just join a school but also found one. Okay, you being the founder here. So and why you chose India only? What made India the right place for that? Can you just walk us through that first?
Absolutely. So I'm in my 21st year as an educator. So I did not become a teacher until I was 35. And the reason I became a teacher is because in my early 30s, I had already been quite successful really in the military career and in business, but I wasn't really getting any personal satisfaction from it. So when I looked back over what parts of the jobs I had enjoyed, it had always been about encouraging other people, improving performance, improving teams and bringing them together. And I was very fortunate that I had good friends who almost insisted that I look into becoming a teacher. I'm glad I did. I haven't looked back. What I found when I became a teacher is I absolutely loved teaching. I loved working in a boarding school as well. It was the opportunity really to have a very positive impact on young people's lives. And I like to really feel that all of the young people who've come across me along the way have been steered to discover themselves, and I'm hopeful that I've also imbued in them a real desire to make a contribution beyond themselves. The schools I was working at were very traditional British boarding schools, and I felt that they were becoming very dependent on international students, but weren't really changing what they did to accommodate the needs of international students. So I thought what I would do is move to an international school. I did so as vice principal, and very quickly became a principal. And I thought I'd only go to international school for a couple of years, but I just loved it. I loved the adventure that the kids were on. The school I was running was in Cambridge in the UK, and I had a fabulous 8 years there. And then I guess serendipity more than anything else, is I got a phone call about the job in India. And came out for the interview. And there are two parts to this. The first part is Shrewsbury itself. Shrewsbury back in the UK is a legacy school, nearly 500 years old. It has a very well established education philosophy. And what I liked about it was that whilst yes, they've got great traditions and a great legacy, they have stayed at the top of education by looking forward. And so when I was doing my research into the school back in the UK, I thought that this actually really does align with my educational values. And then India's got a fantastic tradition of education and knowledge creation. And I thought marrying those two things would be fantastic. And then India is a very vibrant nation. It's on the up, very, very, very colourful, but fabulous diversity in its culture, its languages, its cuisine. And just the opportunity to enjoy all of those different perspectives was a real draw for me. So that's what brought me here. you spotted in my CV that I've worked across the military and various sectors in industry, and I have to say, as a founding headmaster, that all of that experience has been invaluable to me. I wouldn't have wanted to be a founding headmaster without that experience, a very very big complicated projects in the past, or the kind of lessons I was taught in the military about leadership and self mastery. But at the same time, it is the educator in me that really wants to bring what I would regard as a universal educational philosophy to India. And with the backing of Jagran Social Welfare Society, actually we've got the investment in the campus and in staff and their own philosophy, which gives me great confidence that we're on track to become a genuine beacon of educational excellence, which will shine not just across the subcontinent but globally.
Perfect. So, as you mentioned about the legacy that you're expecting to leave, here also in India, Dominic, I would like you to address the students out there who might be preparing for this world who is evolving at such a fast pace. And when you're talking about the legacy that Shrewsbury School, has been continuing for like 474 years, right? If I'm not wrong, 474 years, right? From UK bringing that legacy to India, how would you like to address that to the students out there?
So what I would say is that Shrewsbury in the UK has been a school that has adapted. And actually, it's quite poignant that it has adapted, because one of its greatest old slogans, one of the greatest old boys, is Charles Darwin, who gave us evolutionary theory. So it is a school, the UK school is one that has adapted down the ages, it has evolved with the times, it has paid attention to what's going on beyond the school grounds, and it's been acutely aware of what it is that young people need to be developing in order to succeed, thrive, flourish when they join the adult world. And so we genuinely are bringing that side of it to India. We're also got the great benefit of being in India at a very exciting time. So we are immersed in a country which is on its way to really entering the upper leagues, the top leagues of the geopolitical environment. And certainly will be one of the largest economies in the world in the next generation as well. Now, you've hinted that the world is changing very, very quickly, and I agree. And actually, what I'm working very hard to do is to square off the wicked problem. So it's a wicked problem because it's so complicated. Of how do you integrate an AI, an intelligent machine environment into education? And so I'm very keen to make sure that my pupils are educated in how to make the most of the tools that are available to them, at the same time not allowing those tools to compromise their cognitive development. So in many respects, the very skills you need to manage AI and robotics effectively are the kind of things that AI and robotics can undermine the development of. So we are thinking very carefully about how we introduce young people to the technology and how they use it. But underpinning the whole philosophy here at Shrewsbury India is the idea that schools should be about self-discovery. So what we have here are the facilities and the staff that help young people explore where their talents and interests lie, and then take those talents and interests to mastery, so they really do understand and have the skills to realise their own potential. But most importantly for me, yes, they should be improving their, seeking to achieve and realise their own potential, but they also need to really recognise that humanity is a collaborative exercise. It's actually very difficult to achieve anything on your own. And if you think about the major issues that we face as a species, those are problems that are only going to get solved by collections of people through collaboration. So I really do want the pupils to understand that they have a responsibility to contribute beyond themselves and actively engage in improving humanity.
Understood. Perfect. So, moving ahead, Dominic, I would also like you to shine some light upon the fact that, the institution's culture is basically, promoting Salopian way. Okay, so it's basically a framework which is built around six virtues: wisdom, integrity, courage, kindness, spirit, and self mastery, right? So, in reference to that, how does the school actually live with its values, and how are you just justifying? We would definitely like you to shine some light on that. If you could just share like how you are integrating these values in the culture of the school and the overall institution.
So I think with values and virtues, it's really important that people come to their own view about how they're going to live by them. So our role in this is really to support the pupils in understanding the virtues within the Salopian way, and how they might go about living in a way that aligns with those virtues. So when we're talking about education, it's about introducing them to the Salopian way. But then within everything that we do, our teachers, our sports coaches, our pastoral carers are all very well aware of the Salopian way, and we are very keen to make sure that every opportunity is taken, really to make sure that we're reinforcing and advocating for those virtues. So it's not isolated to specific lessons. It's about teachers thinking about their teaching and looking for opportunities to create awareness of how virtues might fall within their subjects, particularly about how decisions might be made in the mix. When we're dealing with pastoral and boarding circumstances, it's really about these virtues, how they work in developing a cohesive and gainful community that's working together. And then clearly on the sports field, there's lots of opportunities to explore leadership and to make sure that you're learning from past experience in there, and spirit and self mastery and courage and kindness all come into play. So we make sure that the pupils have enough time to really reflect on the decisions that they're making and their performance, and that they do so with reference to the framework provided by the Salopian way. The other part of our educational philosophy is the Floriat, which is about making sure that we are educating the whole person. So that has 4 dimensions: the intellective, the active, the expressive, and the reflective. And I mentioned the reflective last, not because it's the last thing on my mind, but actually none of the other 3 will operate effectively unless pupils are reflecting and having the support to reflect properly on what they've been doing so they can inform what they do next.
Perfect, Dominic. And moving ahead, I would also like you to talk about the fact that Indian parents have always placed enormous value on academic results and also the career outcomes. We would say that parents are literally obsessed with career outcomes, okay? So that pressure is quite real when it comes to an educational institution, right? So how do you have an honest conversation with, Indian families, because the target audience is India, and how do you align with their values, with their overall mindset and stigma?
So, rather like the Indian families, I believe that academics are as important as they've ever been. Unfortunately, they're insufficient in the modern era. And so we need to be very, very careful in the way that we educate our young people. And if you look at the World Economic Forum's thoughts about what are the top 10 skills at the moment, and which ones are growing fastest in terms of the future that lies ahead of us in 2030, it's actually intriguing. So there are lots of things that parents might associate with academics that are falling down the table, even off the table. And this is not to say the academics aren't important. It's really beginning to indicate that both universities and employers are most interested in recruiting people in who are lifelong learners. And not just lifelong learners, they're enthusiastic and effective about lifelong learning. Because things are moving so fast. So the ability to learn almost transcends subjects now. So we're in a position where we can draw things together quite comfortably and quickly with the support of the tools available to us. And so I would say to parents, look, you need to, yes, go after the grades, absolutely. School is about realising your academic potential. But the best way of achieving academic potential, both at school and later on, is by developing the whole person.
Yes.
And actually, if you look at the way that the economy is moving, all of those soft skills are going to be really vital. So when I'm talking about this, I will say, well, look, you can be brilliant at mathematics, absolutely brilliant at it, but it's for nothing if you can't talk about it. And so, yes, we've got the intellective side of maths, we've got that, but if we can't actually help other people to understand it by communicating effectively, then what's the point? So hence the expressive part of our laureate. And I mentioned the word laureate there because that's another important part of our philosophy. It has 4 dimensions. We've touched on intellective and expressive there. Active, though, is really about personal well-being, health and fitness, but it's also about how do you actually engage with one another as well. What kind of contributions are you going to make beyond yourself? And then on the reflective side, if you are going to learn or improve in anything, you need to think very, very carefully about what has happened in the past, your performance in the past, and really get into what Anders Ericsson, an expert on expertise, calls deliberate practice. And so this is about really making sure that you're taking advice about your performance, you're working on it, it's very targeted, you're always looking to stretch yourself, you're not content sitting in your comfort zone, and you want to understand how to get better, how to become the best version of yourself. So those 4 dimensions work in unison together, but at the same time they're also working in concert with the Salopian way, which we spoke about earlier.
Understood. Perfect. So, Dominic, I would also like you to talk about the fact that people often associate boarding schools in India with, the older version where discipline, distance, and rigidity has to be there. Okay, but you often talk about the fact that residential education is as much as important and meaningful than the normal and conventional way of education, right? So can you just walk us through the fact that how does the modern boarding school actually provide a better well resourced place for young people and young students to explore their potential and how it contributes towards their holistic development and growth?
So I went to boarding school when I was 11. I had a fabulous time, and it really is my mission to make sure that other people get the opportunity to enjoy an excellent boarding education. The great benefit of boarding education is that both the pupils and the staff get the opportunity to find out about each other. So if you go to educational psychologists and researchers, people like John Hassey, they will point out that one of the most significant factors in outcomes in education is the relationship between the pupils and their educators and their pastoral carers. In a boarding setup, because the pupils are at school all day and then all night as well, there's lots of opportunity for the staff to actually interact with pupils outside of the classroom. And what I found during the course of my career, and I've only taught in boarding schools, is that gives you the upper hand in the classroom. So because you have been working with the pupil perhaps out on the sports field, on outdoor education, in the performing arts centre, helping them out with their with their musical instruments, helping them out with their prep, you get a much wider perspective of them. And because the pupils see you being involved in other things as well, they get a much wider perspective of you. So when it comes to academic progression, actually being able to teach in an environment that has a fairly low teacher to pupil ratio gives you the opportunity to genuinely differentiate your feedback, to genuinely have the opportunity to check that the pupil has understood the feedback, that they are acting on the feedback, and to be frank, that the feedback is working as well. But the initial communication about that feedback and how to motivate a young person to so much of it comes from the relationship between the teacher and the pupil. So that's the biggest benefit of a boarding
Mm.
education. Coming to a more specific issue in India, is I often speak to parents who are quite happy with their day school, but their day school does no co and extracurricular activity. So they're missing three-quarters of our Floriat, really. And what the family has to do, often in a major conurbation, is gather up their child in the early afternoon, and then
Mm.
they have a logistics challenge of getting them to somewhere else to do their co and extracurricular activities. And I read a report last year about Bengaluru, and young people were spending 3 hours a day commuting
Yeah.
to various educational outlets. And if you multiply that just by five, you get 15 hours, and that's 2 whole school days
Yeah.
which are spent in the car. So there is something about the efficiency of not having to travel back and forwards. And I think there's also something about not having to manage the distinction between psychological environments. So if you're at school, you're not bouncing back to home and
Mm.
back and forwards between them. And then for schools like Shrewsbury, like my school here, we benefit from what has been a huge capital investment.
Yeah.
So we've opened offering 21 different subjects. I think just over 25 sports, and we're just opening our performing arts centre as well. So we've got all of the facilities here and all of the expert staff to really make the most of that time as well. And the glue that holds us together is a shared vision of
Mm.
how education should work. And it is about really forming an educational community where everything is about eliciting learning and development. And I like to reflect on the fact that a good education needs to be fun. It needs to be serious fun. So at the same time, people learn much better, faster, better, deeper if they are happy and that they feel that they belong. So we work very hard to view that in our pupils as well.
Understood. And Dominic, something that really struck us is the fact that the institution is located in Bhopal. Okay, most of the people out there are, might be or maybe wondering out there that why Bhopal when this school could have been there in Mumbai and the metro cities, Delhi, Bangalore, and you just answer the fact that yes, commuting is one issue, right? So, apart from that, can you just shed some light on the fact that why you chose not to be there in the metro city? Hmm.
It's a very straightforward answer to that.
Hmm.
I genuinely believe our location is a great advantage
Hmm.
for us. So we're in Madhya Pradesh, just outside Bhopal.
Hmm.
We were talking a little bit before this about the air quality in some of the conurbations.
Hmm.
You can breathe clean air all year round here in
Hmm.
Bhopal. We're just outside the city, 45 minutes away from the airport.
Airport.
And what's great about the location is that we're on a small hill. That means we have a 360-degree horizon.
Right.
The great benefit of that is that it really does give a great sense of space. So we have a 150-acre site, but
Hmm.
it feels much bigger than that. So the pupils genuinely do feel that they have space in which to learn. And I would also just point out that there are many other schools which are in locations which are much more difficult to get to.
Hmm.
So 45 minutes away from Bhopal Airport makes us one of the most convenient boarding schools of our kind in terms of transfers when it comes down to it.
Yeah.
And my understanding is that Bhopal Airport is very close to having international flights coming directly into us. So as I fly in and out of Bhopal regularly, I know that there have been changes made, and I've seen the immigration test there. So that's coming. So the connectivity is really coming very soon.
Oh.
And I think if you're going to build a 150-acre school, you need to do it in a beautiful location. And that's certainly what we've got here in Bhopal.
Perfect answer. Dominic, also, when we began this conversation, you touched upon the fact that AI, okay, you are empowering your students with the coming major AI disruption. And a little bit trailer of that we are already seeing, like how AI is just disrupting our lives, right? So if AI can research on its own, make better searches, write, analyze, generate, and process things faster than any human, okay? So the question is that how schools will be preparing the students, for the coming disruption, and what is there to develop when a student walks out of your institution, okay, after several years. So what is it they carry as a person, as a human, and what contribution they can provide to the society when technology is challenging their overall talents, their everything, right? When technology is basically replicating everything, so how will you empower your students?
So I think the big thing for me about AI is it is going to be economically disruptive. And as an
Hmm.
educator, this is an important point to note. You say, okay, how are you going to prepare young people for the future?
Hmm.
Well, we need to look at the human characteristics that set us apart. And one of the great things about humanity is we've always been a collaborative species. And in fact, we need to change our education to better reflect that. And so I'm working very hard to lobby to move the assessment protocols in a different direction. So at the moment, we tend to have examinations where young people sit in an examination room that looks very similar to the examination rooms that young people sat in at the end of the 19th century and early 20th century. So we really do need to start setting up our curriculum, our pedagogies, and our formal assessment in a way that better aligns with the skills that are going to be needed in the future. And it's not just skills; it's about skills, attitudes, and behaviours in the mix as well. I think for me, one of the most important human traits is about creativity and critical thinking. So these are two things where there is some emphasis in some of the curriculum out there. So I'm most familiar with the UK curriculum. So if you look at IGCSEs and international A levels, only about 25% of the marks are for remembering stuff. The rest are for the ability to apply, analyse, and evaluate. So there are curricula out there which are beginning to move that way. I just don't think they've gone fast enough. And as a headmaster, I'm still beholden to follow the available curriculum that are accepted by universities and employers. So that's one side of it, but that does not allow me to abdicate my responsibility for developing the very skills, attitudes, and behaviours that are going to let someone flourish in the future. And so we are very focused on making sure we are educating the whole person and emphasising the importance not just of realising one's own potential, but of being able to make that contribution. Specifically on the AI front, my mantra on this is it's really important to develop the awareness of AI and how its limitations and how to use it, so that you aren't enslaved by it. It's a tool that you can use to augment your skills and talents. It's not something you should become beholden to. And there's a very careful, difficult balancing point to be struck between educating people about how to use AI and disrupting the very skills, habits, and attitudes, and the development of those very skills, habits, and attitudes that are going to be needed to make use of it as a tool, effectively. So some real challenges ahead. But I think here at Shrewsbury, India, we have the right philosophy. We had it already. It is about providing young people with an opportunity to really explore themselves, discover themselves, and then take their skills and talents towards mastery, but set them up so that they have the ability to spot opportunities and make the most of those. But at the same time, understand there are going to be challenges along the way, and equip them with the ability to navigate those challenges.
Understood. So, Dominic, I would also like you to address the families who are seriously considering Shrewsbury India, and but also they are weighing other premium schools alongside, right? So, how would you like to address them? How would you like to tell them that what your USP is. We do not want like this should be a brochure version or some sort of a marketing sort of a version. You can just share your honest POV point of view, and you can just talk your heart out to the Indian parents out there and families, because we want this message to be out there, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So, first and foremost, I'm an educator. My only interest is providing the best of educations for young people. And I understand that different families have different priorities. I understand that different pupils have different sets of skills and abilities and preferences. So, from my perspective, it is about helping parents to make an informed decision. And the only real way you can make an informed decision about a school is to go and visit it, meet with the headmaster, meet with the faculty, meet with the existing pupils, and very quickly you'll come to a view about whether it's the right place for your child. So I could sit and talk for 10 or 20 minutes about everything that we do here at Shrewsbury, but at the end of the day, the only real assessment that counts is coming to visit, meet the headmaster, understand what it is that the school aspires to achieve for the young people that come to it, and really just get to know the institution and the people there. And I would also encourage parents to make sure that they involve their children in the decision as well. So going to boarding school it can be a difficult transition for children, and you make it more comfortable. Even, as I said, I thoroughly enjoyed going to boarding school by allowing them to remove the uncertainties, and that's done by visiting.
Amazing. Well, that brings us to the end of this conversation, Dominic, and I think that this seems to be the perfect place to end this amazing session. But before doing so, I would like you to share something really valuable here. Okay, you have successfully built this new chapter of the institution in India, right? So, what is that single most important thing that you are putting in the foundation of the institution that you believe that's going to be relevant in the coming times? It matters at the present time too, and for the next 50 years, it's gonna be same. So, would you like to talk about that?
Yeah, so I would say from a cultural point of view, I think you can't understate the importance of empathy. So as an institution, I want us to be empathetic. So that's really about understanding things from different perspectives. So I would use a very broad definition of it. So not about understanding an individual's perspective, but understanding a group, a society's different perspectives, understanding different perspectives of what might happen in the future.
Yeah.
And then being intelligent about how you use those different perspectives to guide the institution, the faculty, the pupils through their education. So there was one thing I would want to leave Shrewsbury, India with. It would be that it is an institution that is highly empathetic.
Amazing. Well, Dominic, I have to say it has been an absolute pleasure to talk to you, and you shared such invaluable insights with us today. And we hope to see you again for more of such informative sessions in future. And maybe if everything goes well, the next session might be in person, okay, in our studio, podcast studio, for future endeavors. Yeah, yeah.
Katja, it's been a great pleasure. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak to me.
Pleasure is all ours. Thank you so much, and all the best for future endeavors. Bye bye. Take care.